What's up, guys? So, I want to pose a question to you today. What if you only had 6 months to live? What would you do? Like, honestly, really think about this. This is an open question. Now, I say this because in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've had people close to me that have transitioned to what people call death. And, it really made me want to think about things differently. And there is some drumming in the background, but hopefully you can hear me clearly on this because, this is an important point. What would you do? Honestly, what would you do if you only had 6 months to live? You were given a diagnosis and a finite window of time. How would things change for you? How would you act every single day? What would you do every single day? Now, there are two roads. You can be given this fatal diagnosis, and from that point of view, just go into despair. And, people do that, but you can either stay in despair and just convince yourself that nothing matters, or it can galvanize you into making every single day count. Now, we all know this intrinsically, but honestly, what would you do if you only had 6 months to live? And I really want you to just do this, not as a thought action, but really to look at your life, because I tell you this now, if you were given 6 months to live, you would completely change the way you work, the way you act, the way you think, the relationships you value, the time you would spend with loved ones would completely change. Now, I pose this question to you because if you would change the way you do things dramatically, why are you not doing it now? And I don't mean why are you not living a life that only lasts 6 months? What I mean is, why are you not living to your fullest potential right now? Why does it always take a diagnosis for 90% of the world to push themselves? People think, oh, I can do that tomorrow. I can put it off till tomorrow. But if you were given 6 months to live, you wouldn't. You'd say, I've got 6 months. I need to action this now. See, I've worked with so many people, seen so many people, observed so many people that just act like tomorrow is always there and they can put it off for tomorrow. And so most people convince themselves that they can do certain things tomorrow, the next day, on a month, or in a year. And because of that, they end up in Groundhog Day. And you know this. Now, let me pose this to you. 95% of the thoughts that you have today are the ones that you had yesterday. Now, 90%, imagine this, 90% of the thoughts you had yesterday are self-limiting and negative. Just think about that for a second. You have, on average, 68,000 thoughts a day. 68,000. Now, probably 59,000 of those, 60,000 of those are negative. There's a plane going over, so hopefully you can still hear me here. But just think about that. Most of the things that you say to yourself and think to yourself are actually holding you back, stopping you from being the absolute highest version of yourself, from seeking your goals, from absolutely living life totally fulfilled. But yet, in a moment of absolute despair and diagnosis, most of you, I would hope, would be so committed to living to the highest level that you would erode all of those patterns in an instant through pain, because pain is one of the greatest transformers. But now, going back to what I said, imagine yourself with 6 months to live. Now, just think about that. Okay, I've got 6 months to live. What am I actually going to do? Are you going to repair relationships with people that you've left hanging for years? Just think about that. The things that you said you were going to do, whether it was going to Mount Everest or asking that boy out or that girl out, or investing in that business, or committing to that training that you said you were going to do, or changing the way you dress, changing your body composition, starting to wear makeup, starting to really work with your hair. Some people, they wear caps all the time and they just can't be bothered to work on their hair, or get that fashion label that you were going to build, or really taking your health seriously, getting more sleep, or being more present with your children, spending more time with your children, or disregarding the constant buzz of having to do work, to spending time with your children. Think about it. How many of you are so busy, especially a lot of you 7 to 8 figure founders, you're so busy in the creation. You're so busy in the doing, you're never in the being. Just think about that. Like, no one cares about what you've done when you are gone. They only care about what you're doing when you're alive. And I say that because the person themselves, what are you trying to do? Being the richest person in the graveyard? So, there are studies that show that people that are close to death, like, on their deathbed, they have regrets. And though one of those regrets is never, I wish I had worked more. Never. It's never been that. No one says, I wish I'd worked more often. What they say is they cherish the relationship. They wish they'd spent more time with loved ones. They wish they'd spent more time being who they really are, not being fake, not being someone who's just following other people, but being fully authentic, soul aligned. And I talk about this a lot in my work, soul aligned leadership. Being fulfilled is completely different from being successful. And it doesn't mean you can't do both, but what it means is most people, especially in the Western world, are so focused on success from a financial point of view, they actually don't realize that success happens through fulfillment first. When the soul's fulfilled and satiated, when you're living on purpose, when you are actually aligned to what you do and actually love what you do, that's when happiness happens. And that precedes success, and it should do. Success is something you attract, but happiness is something you are. And so you can attract success or you can create success. But happiness is always within you. It's things that you love doing, things that are on purpose, things that you feel fulfilled doing, things that you would do for free, but you happen to get paid for. That's fulfillment. And then the byproduct of that is success when done properly. So again, what would you do if you were given 6 months to live? Just really sit with that. And I tell you this now, if you were to live in a way where you were on purpose, and you thought about your life as if it had already happened, you would change some of the choices that you make on any given day. You would dress differently, walk differently, stand in your power. You wouldn't look down. You would look up or look forward. You would speak your truth. You wouldn't hold your tongue. You wouldn't lie. You would tell your truth. You wouldn't lie to yourself, because the biggest regret and the biggest judgment is when you judge yourself. People are waiting for Judgment Day for some God in the sky to judge them and tell them if they've been good or bad. It's not that. The biggest regret is the one that you regret within yourself. The judgment you hold is the judgment you hold within yourself. The judge is you. So the way you judge yourself is by not having regret. Live as if tomorrow isn't promised. And when you live that way, you live a conviction. You make choices from such a powerful place, knowing that every moment matters. Like I said to you at the start of this, I've had a few people that have passed recently. One of them being my karate instructor, Rest in Power, Sensei Eric Pinch. And very, very powerful man. And when I saw him, I knew he had, cancer, and I reached out to him because one of the things I do is help people with cancer. And, when I reached out to him, he'd gone into remission. And so I met up with him and I brought some friends and we had a great talk. It was an incredible conversation. He's a tough, strong guy, karate man his whole life. And he said he was almost moved to tears to see us because we hadn't seen him in about 10, 12 years. And then I found out, recently, 2 or 3 weeks ago, that he passed. So I'd come back. And this is, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this video here is, as they say, tomorrow is never promised. So just think about your life. What really matters? What truly matters? Is it the paycheck or is it the experience? What did the soul come here to experience? Money or experiences? How will you be remembered? How will you define yourself? What's important to you? How do you become a leader? What is leadership? I always talk about this. Position, presence, and communication. Position is what you stand for and how you stand. Presence is when you walk into a room, you affect the room positively, uplift the room. It's a saying, a high tide raises all boats. Be the thing that inspires others. Lead through conviction, through attitude, through alignment, through being so aligned and true that you inspire others through being you. And then communication. Communicate in a way that disempowers people from having to defend themselves. When I say disempower, I mean disempowering them from having to empower themselves to just be around you. They can't be themselves, they can't be calm. So, and if you wanted to say that a different way, be in the room that inspires others. Communicate with people in a way where they don't feel like they have to defend themselves or they are armored every time you walk in the room. Don't speak in a way that just really gets people defensive, is what I really mean by that. Communicate in such a way where people understand what you're saying. That's leadership, that's soul aligned leadership. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you. And, if this resonates with you and you're interested in making sure that you're living a life of purpose, then, I have a quiz that I always attach to these videos. It takes 90 seconds, especially if you're a busy business leader or a founder. Where are you at on your level? Because I have these 5 tiers I always go through with people, and it moves from reactive. And most people in life are in reactive, as I explained at the start of this video, reactive. And then you move to stabilize, and you stabilize that state. So you move more into what I define as the alpha brainwave state. And it's not just my definition, I just use it a lot in my work, the alpha brainwave state. And so you're starting to stabilize your life in a more balanced way. And then you move from stabilization to regulation. Your life is more regulated, your balance, your state is more regulated, because it's not about effort, it's about state. When your state is regulated, you're able to move slower but expand faster because you're doing it from regulation. And then you get to optimizing. So your life is in such a powerful state of optimization that you're leveraging everything, including your energy, your posture, your food, and your thinking. And then finally you go into calibrated. Everything is calibrated in a way where you're in flow. You're in what they call the flow state. Your whole life is in flow. It doesn't mean life is easier. It just means you have more tools on board. And so you're able to calibrate in such a powerful way. So these are the 5 tiers. Take the test, see where you are. It's free. It's attached at this video. So I encourage you to take that quiz. So it takes 90 seconds to find out where you are on the tiers. And that's a reflection point for you to really be honest with yourself. And if that resonates with you and you want to go deeper, just sign up to the newsletter. There's always information there. And then, I have these tools such as my energetic alchemy operating system, which is very inexpensive. It's like £10 a month, and allow you to be able to assess yourself through metrics and data. As they say, prevention is better than cure. Don't wait until your heart stops. Don't wait until the stroke happens to actually do something about it. Live as if life matters, as if you only had 6 months to live. And, if you want to go deeper on this work, you can also book a discovery call if you want to go deeper into actually being guided to reevaluate your operating system to scale faster. Anyway, guys, leave me with this. Stay healthy, aligned, balanced, harmonized. Live life with purpose and meaning. Until next time, stay legendary. Much love. Peace.